Hi, and we're going to talk today about how to know if you are having self-care or if you are buffering and overdoing things not in a good way. So, I know last week I talked about grief in the holidays, and somebody had brought up in my grief group about how do you know the difference between doing things that are self-care versus just checking out and trying to be numb and not wanting to deal with things. And so I just wanted to have just a little short podcast this week just to talk about that and to help you know the difference of those two things. So when we are having self-care, actually, let's start with when we want to check out, okay? Another word for it that I like to use is buffering. When we want to buffer the world, and be like, oh, that thing over there feels bad. I don't want to do that. I'm either avoiding it or I'm fighting against it, right? We kind of do the fight, flight, freeze, fawn type thing. And so, what that can look like is you might go scroll on your phone a bunch. You might watch a bunch of Netflix movies. You might turn to food and just keep looking for food, even though you're not hungry. You might find yourself just constantly up, looking for food. You might, if you might have a drink and then another drink, and pretty soon, what started with you used to drink one a month, now you're drinking a drink every night because it just helps soothe you. Um, so any of these things, anytime that we start to look at it and be like, oh, I don't like what I'm doing or how I'm showing up. Okay. We don't have to get into well, you're an alcoholic or you're an overeater. The only thing that matters is when you feel like it's becoming a problem. When you feel like how I'm showing up, I don't like it. I want to change. I don't like how I'm feeling. I feel drained all the time. I feel like, yeah, I started doing this because it was a self-soothing thing and it helped me, but now it's become a problem. And so we're going to talk about how those little kind of subtle differences and how to notice them. So the first thing is to notice how you're feeling, which a lot of times we think should be a very obvious thing where it'd be like, well, I would know if I was feeling that way. But I can tell you the other day, so my husband and I have been, oh, I don't know if struggling is the right word, fighting a lot, not being able to see eye to eye. We've been having a lot of disagreements. So there's just been tension in my body. And finally, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna show up for him. I'm just gonna do that because obviously, he's not hearing me, he's not seeing me. And I was like, okay, fine, I'm gonna do this for him. But I still felt super tense in my body. I felt very anxious. I wasn't sure how he was gonna respond. I almost felt subservient. I don't know if that's even a word. Just really meek and not in a good way, almost beaten down. Not physically, but just exhausted mentally and emotionally. So it's like, okay, fine. I'm defeated. He wins. This is what, and I even thought that in my mind. I remember thinking that, okay, he wins. I just quit. I quit. I'll just do whatever he wants. It doesn't matter. But it wasn't from a place that I was I don't want to say excited or happy, but it definitely wasn't in a place where I felt doing it out of love. It felt more of I lost all control. I was completely defeated. And so then I started being like, okay, fine, sure. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Right. But my body language was still showing up as annoyed or dismissive, um, tense. So that's what I felt. And it took me listening to a coaching call to be like, oh, I'm still in a stress response. I 100% have not been showing up very well, even though in my mind, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm doing whatever he wants. No. So really be aware and notice how you are feeling when you're doing the thing. Okay, another example for me is I like to read a lot. So over the last couple weeks, when my husband and I have been fighting, I have been reading a ton because instead of like sitting out and talking at the end of the night or maybe watching a show together, like I've just retreated to my room and I've read for about 2 hours every night, and then I'll go to bed. And so part of that is self-care, right? I love to read. It's something I really enjoy. But part of it is too because I'm trying to avoid the confrontation or the situation, which I would even say is not a bad thing in that situation. Um, I was doing that because I didn't feel calm enough. He certainly wasn't calm enough. So it's just like I'm just gonna like go and just go do something that I love and I enjoy. And again, I could notice the nights when I did that because it's like, I want to do that versus the nights when we had already kind of had like bickering in the kitchen, like cleaning up from supper, or we would pass by each other and just make little sharp comments to each other. And so then I would retreat to my room because I was mad or I was tense. I could just feel the energy just pinging off of me, right? Like all over the place. It would bounce all over. And as I was reading, I would find myself distracted and ruminating and thinking about the conversation. Be like, well, I should go tell them this, or I should go say this, or oh yeah, if I told so and so, like they would be on my side. Like, right? Like that's how you notice the difference. When you either are trying to like have this argument in your mind by yourself while you're trying to do the thing that's bringing you self-care, or if you're like really to a point where you're like you just feel numb. Okay. Like, so that's how you can tell like the different feelings that kind of go through your body. And again, it takes practice. It takes some awareness on thinking through that. Another thing that I did was the other day we were going to go meet with our tax guy before the end of the year. And previously we had been in a vehicle together, my husband and I, and it had not gone very well. Okay, we got in a big argument again. And so I had decided ahead of time, I was like, okay, I'm going to drive myself. We can just take separate vehicles. Afterwards, I'm gonna go get my nails done. I'm gonna get a coffee. I'm gonna bring my book along. And then after I'm done with that, I'm gonna do a little bit of self-care. And then I'm gonna go get groceries and get supper ready for the kids or do the things. So also that's the other thing that you can do is if you pre-plan it out, then that is having more, it's being more self-care versus just in the moment when you're like, "Ugh, I no longer feel like going for a walk. I'm just too tired today. I'm just like, that's when we can notice, like, okay, oh, I'm starting to get into like, I just am numbing out. I just don't want to do this. Like, so instead, I like to ask myself, like, can I just go for a 5-minute walk? Can I just walk to the tree grove and back? Can I? I've been trying to do like short exercise videos, and it's like 20 minutes. You just have to do 20 minutes. Just start and do half the video, right? Like, so I just try to tell myself, like, yes, I had this plan, and so I want to follow through with it at least a little bit. And so the other day, if the tax thing would have gone downhill, I knew still like, no, I have this plan to go and get my nails done and take care of myself. And part of me too was like, well, if it doesn't like maybe I shouldn't go do that because it's like no. Like I'm deciding ahead of time. I'm making decisions with my prefrontal cortex, which makes smarter decisions than my in the moment brain, which is going to be very instant gratification, very self-soothing in a way of we want to get a quick dopamine hit and then we kind of like crash afterwards. It's like when we eat sugar, right? Like we get that quick high, but it's not really sustaining for our bodies, and so we just crash. So I hope this was helpful. I hope that you can start to feel and start to notice the difference in your body. Okay, so that's like the biggest cue and situation. And then there are times where we just can't see it. Like I didn't see that I was in a stress response until I listened to a coaching call and she like basically said word for word like how like my body language and how I was showing up and I was like Oh, that's why. That's why he's still upset, is because I'm not showing up as well as I think I am. So, just to know too, like sometimes we are caught up in that and we can't see it, and that's okay. But then that's where again, like listen to past podcasts that I've done. Maybe that's what I'll do again for tomorrow or next week for a refresher on how to notice that as well, like faster, right? Because it just does take practice. And even like we're not perfect. And so I have been coaching and coaching myself for 3 years now, almost 4 years. And I still was so wrapped up in my beliefs and my thoughts about things that I just couldn't get out of it. Now, I will say that most of the time I can catch it a lot faster. And an argument that is like used to be like 7 days now is like a couple days or a few hours. And so it's just me being able to like notice it faster and practice it more. So this time I just I just did not see it. Which that's why you have me. That's why you have a coach. So again, I encourage you to go to catholicgriefcoach.com and feel free to book a free consult call with me if you're like, I just cannot tell the difference and I'm totally stuck and I don't know what's going on. So catholicgriefcoach.com. All right, you guys. God bless, and I'll see you next time.